Before we dive into the foggy streets of 1983 Berlin and the secrets that could dismantle an entire intelligence network, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. These stories from the archives take weeks to research and write, and your support helps us uncover more lost files from the Cold War. If you enjoy this deep dive into espionage history, hit the like button and let us know in the comments what era we should cover next. Now let's go back to November 1983. The rain in West Berlin didn't wash things clean, it just made the grime slicker. It was a freezing, persistent drizzle that turned the cobblestones of the American sector into mirrors reflecting the harsh sodium lights of the checkpoints. For Elias Thorne, a case officer with the Central Intelligence Agency's Berlin station, the rain was a blessing. It kept pedestrians off the streets, reduced visibility for long-range lenses, and muffled the sound of footsteps. Elias sat in a parked, nondescript Volkswagen Beetle 3 blocks south of Checkpoint Bravo. The engine was off, the cold seeping through the thin metal doors, settling into his bones. He checked his watch. 02:14 a.m. The asset was 4 minutes late. In the intelligence game, 4 minutes was an eternity. 4 minutes was the difference between a successful extraction and a diplomatic incident, or a disappearance. Elias was 42, but he looked 50. The stress of the station, the constant looking over one's shoulder, had etched deep lines around his eyes. He wasn't a James Bond type. He was a bureaucrat of the shadows, a man who dealt in logistics, dead drops, and the gray morality of survival. Tonight, he was waiting for a man codenamed Librarian. Librarian wasn't a field agent. He wasn't a soldier. He was a mid-level archivist for the KGB's first chief directorate, who had been stationed at the Soviet consulate in East Berlin. His value wasn't in what he could do, but in what he had seen. He had requested extraction 48 hours ago via a signal chalked onto a park bench in Tiergarten. A crude method, desperate. Headlights swept across the rear window. Elias slumped lower, watching the mirror. A delivery truck rumbled past, heading toward the industrial district. He let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Then he saw him. Emerging from the shadows of an alleyway, not the main street, was a figure huddled in a heavy wool coat that was soaked through. The man moved with the jerky, erratic energy of a hunted animal. He wasn't carrying a suitcase, just a plastic shopping bag. This was Librarian. His real name was Alexei Volkov. Elias didn't flash his lights. He simply unlocked the passenger door. The sound of the latch clicking was loud in the silence. Volkov heard it, froze, and then sprinted the last 10 yards, throwing himself into the passenger seat. "Drive," Volkov gasped, his English heavily accented, his teeth chattering uncontrollably. "Please, just drive." Elias didn't ask questions yet. He started the engine, kept the headlights off for the first block, and navigated through the labyrinth of side streets he had memorized earlier that day. He checked for tails, standard surveillance detection route, SDR. A left turn, a right, a pause at a green light. No one followed. "You're late, Alexei," Elias said calmly, his voice a low rumble. "We had a window." "They know," Volkov whispered, clutching the plastic bag to his chest as if it contained the crown jewels. "They know I am gone. They started the audit early." Elias felt a cold spike of adrenaline. The plan was based on the assumption that Volkov wouldn't be missed until Monday morning. It was currently Saturday. If the KGB knew he was missing now, the border guards would be on high alert. But they were already in West Berlin. The hard part should have been over. "You're safe now," Elias said, though he didn't fully believe it. "We're going to the safe house in Zehlendorf. My team is waiting. We'll debrief you, get you dry, and get you on a transport to Frankfurt by morning." "No!" Volkov shouted, grabbing Elias's arm. The car swerved slightly before Elias corrected it. "Let go of the wheel," Elias snapped. "No, Zehlendorf," Volkov pleaded, his eyes wide and bloodshot. "You do not understand. The leak, it is not on my side. It is on yours." Elias slowed the car. This was the nightmare scenario, every handler's worst fear. "What are you talking about?" "The audit," Volkov said, trembling. "It was ordered because of a tip from the American sector. Someone told the residentura that I was making contact. If you take me to your station, if you take me to your superiors, I am a dead man. Elias looked at the terrified man. He knew the paranoia of defectors. It was common. But Volkov had the specific, terrifying clarity of a man who had seen the paperwork. Who? Elias asked. I do not know the name, Volkov said. But I saw the cable. It came from Source Orion. That is your side, yes? Orion? Elias went cold. Orion wasn't a person. It was the clearance code for the CIA's Berlin Station Internal Logistics Channel. If the KGB was getting info from Orion, they had access to the station's operational schedule. If Elias drove to the safe house in Zehlendorf, he wouldn't just be handing over a defector. He might be handing him over to his executioners. Elias looked at the radio on the dashboard. He was scheduled to check in with Control, his superior, Station Chief Alden, in 5 minutes. He made a decision that would end his career and possibly his life. He reached down and switched the radio off. Okay, Elias said. No Zehlendorf. The silence in the car was heavier than before. By turning off the radio, Elias had officially gone rogue. In the eyes of the agency, going dark during an operation was indistinguishable from being compromised or turning traitor. Where are we going? Volkov asked, his voice small. Somewhere they aren't looking, Elias replied. He turned the wheel sharply, heading away from the affluent suburbs where the CIA kept its safe houses, driving instead toward Kreuzberg. Kreuzberg in the early 80s was an island of misfits within the island of West Berlin. It was populated by Turkish immigrants, punks, artists, and draft dodgers. It was a place where people didn't ask questions, and where an American car parked on a side street wouldn't immediately draw the attention of the military police. Elias's mind was racing, running through the implications of what Volkov had said. If the Orion channel was compromised, then the station chief, Alden, had to know. Or worse, Alden was the leak. It seemed impossible. Alden was a company man, a veteran of Vietnam and Laos. But betrayal in this city was rarely about ideology anymore. It was about debt, blackmail, or simple exhaustion. You need to tell me exactly what was in that cable, Elias said, navigating through the narrow, graffiti-covered streets. Volkov opened the plastic bag. Inside wasn't clothes or toiletries. It was paper, reams of it, photocopied files, hastily shoved together. I brought proof, not of the leak, but of what I was working on, the Directorate S Illegals program. But the cable, I saw it on the resident's desk. It said, Subject Librarian Extraction Imminent. Location Bravo. Time 02:10. Intercept. Elias gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. The time was exact. The location was exact. Only 3 people knew those details. Elias, Station Chief Alden, and the Deputy Chief of Operations, a woman named Sarah Jenkins. They didn't intercept me, Volkov noted, confused. Why? Because I changed the pickup point by 2 blocks at the last minute. Elias lied. He hadn't changed it. The KGB had simply been too slow, or perhaps the East German border guards were incompetent tonight. Or maybe, just maybe, they were waiting for Elias to bring Volkov to a specific location to grab them both. Elias pulled the car into a courtyard behind a dilapidated apartment building on Oranienstrasse. The building facade was scarred with bullet holes from World War II that had never been plastered over. We get out here, Elias commanded. Leave the bag. No, actually, bring the bag. Do not let it out of your sight. They exited the vehicle. The cold wind bit through Elias's trench coat. He led Volkov to a basement entrance. This wasn't a CIA safe house. It was a ghost flat, a private contingency Elias had maintained for 3 years using his own money and a fake identity. No paperwork linked this room to the US government. He fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking slightly, not from cold, but from the adrenaline crash. He unlocked the heavy iron door and ushered Volkov inside. The room smelled of damp concrete and old coal. It was a single room with a cot, a small kitchenette, and a heavy curtain over the solitary street-level window. Sit, Elias ordered, pointing to the cot. He moved to the window, checking the street through a crack in the fabric. Empty. Do you have food? Volkov asked. I have not eaten since yesterday morning." Elias went to a cupboard and pulled out a tin of crackers and a jar of peanut butter. "It's not the Ritz, Alexei, but it's safe." "For how long?" "Until I figure out who sold us out," Elias said. He turned to face the Russian. "You said Source Orion. Did the cable have a signature? A code at the bottom?" Volkov chewed a cracker voraciously. "It had a clearance stamp. Blue clearance. That is high level, yes?" "Blue clearance." That narrowed it down to the senior staff. Elias looked at his watch. It was now 03 a.m. By now, the station would be in panic mode. They would be tracking his car. He realized with a jolt of stupidity that he had parked the registered vehicle in the courtyard. "We can't stay here long," Elias said, cursing himself. "I have to ditch the car. You stay here. Lock the door behind me. Do not open it for anyone but me. I will knock 3 times, pause, then 2 times. "If you do not come back?" Volkov asked, the cracker crumbling in his hand. Elias looked at the shivering man, a man who had betrayed his country for a promise of freedom that Elias was currently failing to deliver. "If I don't come back," Elias said grimly, "burn everything in that bag and run." Elias moved the Volkswagen 4 miles away, parking it near the U-Bahn station at Cottbusser Tor. He wiped down the steering wheel and door handles, a force of habit. Though he knew if the agency found the car, his prints were the least of his worries. He left the keys in the ignition and the door unlocked. In this neighborhood, the car would be stolen or stripped within the hour, creating a confusing trail for anyone tracking him. He took the U-Bahn back toward Kreuzberg, sitting in a carriage with 2 punks with green mohawks and an old woman asleep with a basket of groceries. He looked at his reflection in the darkened glass of the subway car. He looked like a ghost. He felt like one. He needed to make contact, but he couldn't use the secure line. He needed a payphone, and he needed to call the one person who might not be compromised, or at least who owed him enough favors to listen. He got off at Görlitzer Bahnhof and found a phone booth that hadn't been vandalized. He dialed a local Berlin number. It rang 4 times before a groggy female voice answered. "Ja?" "Isabel," Elias said, slipping into German. "It's Thomas." There was a pause. Thomas's was the name he used when he had helped Isabel's brother escape East Berlin 5 years ago. It was a name from a past life. "Thomas," she said, her voice instantly awake, dropping to a whisper. "It is 4 in the morning. Why are you calling?" "I need a place," Elias said. "The place I have is expiring. I need something quiet, long-term, no questions." "Are you in trouble?" "The worst kind." "Is it official trouble or police trouble?" "Internal trouble," Elias said. "The family is fighting." Isabel understood. She ran a small bookstore in Schöneberg, but her real trade was information and logistics for people who fell through the cracks of the divided city. "I have a storage room above the shop," she said. "It has heat, no water. You have to use the sink in the hall, but it is off the books. I'll take it. I'll be there in 2 hours." "Thomas," she warned, "if you bring the police to my door, I will shoot you myself." "I know, Isabel. I'm counting on it." Elias hung up. He had a secondary location. Now he had to move Volkov. But first he had to see what the station was doing. He walked to a cafe that opened early for the factory workers. He ordered a black coffee and bought a newspaper, though he didn't read it. He sat near the back, watching the street. At 05 a.m., a black sedan rolled slowly past. It wasn't a police car. It was a Ford Granada, the standard issue for CIA plainclothes security. They were grid searching. They were looking for him. Elias realized the magnitude of his situation. He wasn't just hiding a refugee. He was effectively kidnapping a high-value asset. The charges against him would be treason, kidnapping, and mishandling of classified material. If they caught him, he wouldn't get a trial. He would get a quiet room in Virginia and a lifetime of silence. He finished his coffee and left. He had to get back to Volkov. When he arrived back at the basement flat on Oranienstrasse, he performed the knock. 3 times. Pause. 2 times. Silence. He knocked again. Nothing. Elias pulled his sidearm, a snub-nosed .38 Detective Special he carried in an ankle holster. He keyed the lock and pushed the door open, staying low. The room was empty. The cot was overturned. The window curtain was torn. "Alexei?" he hissed. There was a shuffling sound from the small bathroom. Volkov emerged, holding a heavy cast iron skillet he had found in the kitchenette, looking terrified. "I heard footsteps," Volkov whispered, lowering the pan. "Outside the window. Boots." "Did they stop?" "Yes, for a moment. Then they walked on." "Police patrol," Elias guessed. "Or just drunks." "We have to move. Now." "Where?" "A bookstore. It's safer. Pack the bag." As they prepared to leave, Elias noticed something on the floor near the door. He knelt down. It was a small electronic device, no bigger than a matchbox, a transmitter. It wasn't his, and Volkov certainly didn't bring it. "Alexei," Elias said, his voice deadly calm. "Did you open the door?" "No, I swear." "Did you go near the window?" "Only to look." Elias picked up the device. It was active. A proximity bug. Someone had slid it under the door gap or through the mail slot. They knew someone was inside. "They found the car," Elias realized. "They tracked the car here before I moved it." The sound of tires screeching outside confirmed his fear. Doors slammed. "Out the back," Elias commanded, grabbing Volkov by the collar. "Now!" The basement flat had a secondary exit, a coal chute that led into the rear alleyway. It was tight, filthy, and hadn't been used in decades. Elias shoved the plastic bag of documents into the chute first, then pushed Volkov. "Climb!" Elias hissed. Volkov scrambled up the incline, slipping on the coal dust, coughing. Elias followed, his heart hammering against his ribs. He heard the front door of the flat being kicked in just as he pulled himself out into the alley. "Clear!" a voice shouted from inside the basement. "Room is clear. Warm coffee cup. They just left." "Perimeter!" another voice barked. It was a voice Elias recognized. Miller, the station's head of security, a man who enjoyed his job a little too much. Elias grabbed Volkov and pulled him behind a dumpster. "Quiet," he breathed. The alley was dark, but searchlights were beginning to sweep the ends of the street. They were boxed in. "We have to go up," Elias whispered. He pointed to a fire escape on the adjacent building. It was rusted, hanging 10 feet off the ground. "I cannot reach that," Volkov said, trembling. "I'll lift you." Elias cupped his hands. "Step." Volkov stepped, and Elias heaved him upward with a grunt of exertion. Volkov grabbed the bottom rung, swinging wildly. The plastic bag dangled from his wrist. "Pull yourself up," Elias urged. Volkov managed to scramble onto the platform. He reached down. Elias took a step back, ran, and jumped, catching the bottom rung. His shoulder screamed in protest. He hauled himself up just as a beam of light cut through the space where he had been standing. "Alley clear!" a voice shouted below. Elias and Volkov lay flat on the rusted metal grating, the cold steel biting into their skin. They listened as the agents below swept the area. "He can't have gone far." Miller's voice drifted up. "Check the sewers. Check the subway entrances." They waited for 10 minutes until the footsteps faded. "We are on the roof," Volkov whispered. "Now what?" "We cross," Elias said. "The Berlin roof walk." They climbed to the top of the building. The view was a panorama of gray mist and distant watchtowers. To the east, the TV tower pierced the clouds like a needle. To the west, the glow of capitalism's neon lights. They moved across the rooftops of Kreuzberg, jumping small gaps between buildings. Volkov was clumsy, terrified, slipping on the wet tiles. Elias had to grab him twice to prevent him from plummeting 4 stories to the pavement. "Why are you doing this?" Volkov asked during a pause to catch their breath behind a chimney stack. "You could give me to them. You could say you found me. You keep your job." Elias looked at the Russian. "If I give you to them, and the leak is real, you're dead. And if you're dead, I never find out who turned my station into a sieve. I'm not doing this for you, Alexei. I'm doing it because I don't like being played." It was a half-truth. Elias had joined the agency because he believed in the mission. Protecting a defector was the mission. If the bureaucracy was broken, the mission remained. "We need to get to street level," Elias said. 2 blocks over. Then we take a taxi, but not a registered one. They descended a fire escape on the far side of the block. They were covered in soot, wet, and exhausted. They looked like bums. Elias flagged down a taxi. A Turkish man in a Mercedes who ran an unlicensed cab service for the night workers. "Schöneberg," Elias said, handing the driver 50 marks. "No questions." The driver nodded. "For 50 marks, I am deaf and blind." As they drove through the pre-dawn city, Elias opened the plastic bag Volkov had been guarding. He pulled out a file at random. It was marked, "Top Secret, Eyes Only." It contained a list of names. Elias scanned the list in the passing streetlights. His breath hitched. The names weren't Russians. They were Americans. Politicians, military contractors, journalists. "What is this?" Elias asked. "The payroll," Volkov said softly. "The people Moscow pays in Washington." Elias looked at Volkov. "This isn't just about a mole in Berlin, is it?" "No," Volkov said. "It is about the network, the leak in your station. He is just the gatekeeper. The rot goes much higher." Elias closed the file. He realized now why the clean team had been sent so quickly. They weren't trying to catch a rogue agent. They were trying to bury a list that could bring down the US government. Isabel's bookstore, Der Buchwurm, was located on a quiet street lined with linden trees. The shop was closed, the lights off. Elias knocked on the side door. Isabel opened it instantly. She was a woman in her late 30s with sharp features and eyes that missed nothing. She wore a heavy cardigan and held a cigarette. She looked at Elias, then at the soot-covered Volkov. "You look like chimney sweeps," she said dryly. "Get inside." She led them up a narrow staircase to the storage room. It was filled with boxes of unsold books, dusty encyclopedias, and a smell of old paper. There was a mattress on the floor and a small electric heater. "There is soup on the hot plate," Isabel said. "And blankets." "Who is he?" "A friend from the East," Elias said. "He needs to stay invisible, Isabel. Completely invisible." "Does he speak German?" "A little," Volkov said. "Danke," Isabel sighed. "I will bring water and clothes. You cannot wear those rags." She left them. Elias locked the door. "Eat," Elias told Volkov. Volkov attacked the soup. Elias sat on a stack of books, his mind working furiously. He was safe for the moment, but he had no resources. No car, no radio, no backup. And he was holding a nuclear bomb in the form of paper files. He needed to analyze the documents. He needed to find the identifier for Source Orion and cross-reference it with the Berlin station roster. "Alexei," Elias said, "the cable you saw, did it have any other markings? Anything at all?" Volkov wiped his mouth. "There was a timestamp and a routing code, R7. R7, Elias repeated. "That's the routing code for the crypto room, the communication center. So the mole is a comms officer? Or someone who has access to the comms room after hours," Elias said. "The watch officer." The watch officer rotated every shift. But last night, during the crucial window when the extraction was planned, the watch officer would have been the one to receive the incoming signal from Elias. Who was on duty? Elias muttered to himself. He tried to remember the roster. It was supposed to be Peters. No, Peters was on leave. It was Sullivan, James Sullivan, a young, ambitious officer from Yale, clean-cut, too clean. "I need to make a call," Elias said. "You said phones are dangerous," Volkov reminded him. "I'm not calling the station," Elias said. "I'm calling Sullivan's house. I need to know if he's sleeping like a baby or if he's sitting in the comms room sweating." Elias went down to the shop phone. He dialed Sullivan's home number. It rang and rang. No answer. He dialed the station's front desk, a risk, but a calculated one. He disguised his voice, pitching it lower, adding a German accent. "This is Polizei District 4, Elias lied. "We found a wallet belonging to a James Sullivan. Is he available?" "One moment," the desk sergeant said. A minute later, the sergeant returned. "Officer Sullivan is currently in a debriefing with the chief. He cannot come to the phone." "A debriefing at 6 a.m. on a Saturday?" Elias asked. "It's an emergency situation," the sergeant said, sounding stressed. "I'll take a message." No message. Elias hung up. Sullivan was with the chief. That meant one of two things. Sullivan was the mole and was coordinating the hunt, or Sullivan was being interrogated because they suspected him. But if Sullivan was the mole, why hadn't he destroyed the evidence of the cable Volkov saw? Unless the mole wasn't Sullivan. Unless the mole was the person debriefing him, Station Chief Alden. Elias felt a pit in his stomach. Alden was his mentor. Ideally, you never suspect your mentor. Realistically, in the Cold War, you always suspect your mentor. Elias went back upstairs. We have to go through these files, Alexei. Every single page. We're looking for a pattern. If Alden is the mole, he's been careful. But everyone makes a mistake. The next 12 hours were a blur of cigarette smoke and reading. The storage room floor was covered in documents. Isabel brought them coffee and sandwiches, looking at the classified Soviet documents with a mixture of curiosity and fear, but asking nothing. The payroll list was damaging, but it didn't prove who the Berlin leak was. It just proved the KGB had deep pockets. However, amidst the technical reports on Directorate S, Elias found something else. A log of favors. The KGB kept receipts. They documented everything. There was a log of payments made to a consultant in Sector B. Sector B was the US sector. The payments weren't cash. They were deposits into a Swiss account under the name Veritas. Veritas, Elias mused. Truth. Irony, Volkov noted. The dates of the deposits coincided with 3 major intelligence failures in the last 2 years. The compromised network in Poland, the failed extraction in Prague, and now, the attempted interception of Volkov. I need to trace this bank account, Elias said. If I can link Veritas to Alden, I have him. You cannot trace a Swiss account from a bookstore in West Berlin, Volkov said, defeated. I can't, Elias agreed. But I know someone who can, a banker in Zurich who owes the agency a favor. The problem is, I can't call him. The lines are monitored. So you go to Zurich? No time. I have to get him to check the account remotely. I need a telex. A telex? Volkov laughed, a harsh barking sound. Where do you find a telex on a Saturday? The post office at Zoo Station, Elias said. It's open 24 hours for international business. It was a suicide mission to go back out there. The city was crawling with Elias's former colleagues. His picture would be circulated by now. Rogue agent, armed and dangerous. Approach with extreme caution. I will go, Isabel said from the doorway. Elias jumped. He hadn't heard her enter. No, Elias said. It's too dangerous. If they trace the message, they are looking for a man, Isabel said. An American spy. Not a German bookstore owner sending a business message about, what? Rare books? Elias looked at her. She was brave, perhaps foolishly so, but she was right. It has to be coded, Elias said. You can't just ask for bank details. He grabbed a piece of paper. He wrote a message that looked like an order for antique manuscripts. Request verification of provenance for item Veritas. Invoice dates, list of dates. Buyer suspected of forgery. Confirm origin. He gave her the number for the bank in Zurich. Send this. Wait for the reply. It might take an hour. And if the reply comes, bring it here. Do not read it. Isabel took the paper. You owe me more than rent for this, Thomas. I know. She left. Elias and Volkov waited. The tension in the room was palpable. If it is Alden, Volkov asked, what will you do? He is the chief. He controls the police, the military liaison. Everything. I don't know, Elias admitted. I can't arrest him. I can't shoot him. I have to expose him. I have to get this evidence to Langley, to the Director of Central Intelligence. How? The secure line is compromised. There is one other way, Elias said. The diplomatic bag. Every Monday, a courier took physical documents from the U.S. consulate in Berlin to Washington. It was inviolable. Diplomatic immunity. If Elias could get the files into that bag, they would reach Washington untouched. But to get to the bag, Volkov said, you have to go into the consulate. Exactly, Elias said. Into the lion's den. Isabel returned 2 hours later. She looked pale. I sent it, she said. The reply came quickly. She handed Elias the telex printout. Elias scanned it. Item Veritas confirmed. Account holder linked to Shell Company. Albion Logistics. Signatory, J. Sullivan. Elias stared at the paper. Sullivan, the young comms officer. It's not Alden, Elias whispered. It's Sullivan, the kid. Volkov looked at the paper. Is that better or worse? It's complicated, Elias said. Sullivan is the signatory, but a kid like that doesn't set up a Swiss shell company alone. He's a frontman. For whom? That's what we have to ask him, Elias said, a hard look entering his eyes. Tonight. You are going to finding him? No, Elias said, checking his gun. I'm going to kidnap him.